All right, so let's get started here, if we can, here for just a minute or two. We are looking at the radar here at this time, and there's some storms out there, but they're mostly over closer to the Metroplex. As a matter of fact, there's some big hail production going on there now. No, I'm just at work. Just got through doing the news, so no, nothing to worry about really, unless you're down in Dallas or kind of in the Metroplex, kind of that area, north central Texas, some big hail producers down there. And there's also been quite a bit of severe weather today up there in Illinois and Ohio, of all places. So, but let's take a look and see. And if y'all have any questions for me, feel free to ask away and whatever it is you need to do. So we are, or I am rather, looking at the radar, and I'm going to go to. Give me a second here, folks. I got to get things set and ready to roll. Here we go. All right, let me get my screen capture back up. And there is the radar. All right, so here's what you're looking at on radar. This is going to be, at least in our viewing area, and by my viewing area, it's what I would consider the people that are on TV that watch me, or that can watch me. We got these storms that have been trying to develop in an area from about St. Joe to about Jacksboro. They'll go up and they'll try to get their act together, and then they just get ripped apart by the upper level winds. There's a bit of a cap in place down here, and a cap, just to be as simple as I can with you. A cap is basically just what it sounds like. It's a cap. It's like a lid that's been twisted like on a Coke bottle or something like that. But it's a lid that is put on the atmosphere that kind of keeps these thunderstorms, these clouds, from developing into thunderstorms. So we've kind of seen that kind of down here into this area. It's a layer of warm air just above the clouds that keep that from happening. In order for a thunderstorm to develop, the rising air has to remain warmer than the surrounding air. But if it ever encounters a layer in the atmosphere, and it does, where the air is warmer than the parcel of air rising, then you see it can't rise anymore. It's no longer unstable, so it can't rise anymore. So that's what we've been seeing. So these storms have really been struggling. You can see this little updraft between Bryson and Jacksboro. It's trying to, but it's really struggling here at this time. So Eric, I might bring you on here in a minute. Give me just a second here. We don't really have anything big going on, at least in our area. So, but I'll probably throw you on here in a minute to, kind of get you on with me here for a minute. Are you home yet? Are you home now? Or are you still on the road? But we'll see what happens with that. There's just not a whole lot going on there in Jacksboro with that storm. If it can intensify, if it can grow, if it can get its act together, then you might see the chance for a little hail in that thunderstorm there. But until then, until it can kind of maintain itself, I really don't see much of a threat with that. And that stuff that was up there in the Monte County, it's kind of washed out too. There are some tornado warnings up here into south central Oklahoma, well east of Ardmore. It's going to go into the southern and southeastern parts of Oklahoma. There's a lot of supercells out there tonight, actually. But most of what we're seeing would be severe thunderstorm warnings, and there's a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings out there from Arkansas. Matter of fact, if I widen this, there's severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings from almost Cleveland, Ohio, all the way down into North Texas. That's how this front is. It's just we got a real soupy air mass that's developed in these areas and has been able to spread to the north, and that's why you're seeing that. Now, down into Dallas, if you got some friends down there or a family that live there, this is producing some big hail, people. I mean, it's producing some large hail. Here's some of the storm reports showing up on it. Looks like 2-inch hail being reported, 1.5-inch hail, 2-inch hail, quite a few 2 3/4-inch hail. So you're looking at this storm here, hail amounts that perhaps are getting up to the size of baseballs, tennis ball and baseball size hail. Of course, the algorithm in the computer suggests that hail sizes could be up to the size of softballs. Now, the algorithm's looking at the largest possibility of hail, and oftentimes that's showing the hail size aloft. That's showing what the hail size is like in the cloud, in the storm itself. But that doesn't mean that that hail size is actually going to reach down to the Earth's surface. But there's probably some big hail going on there from about Little Elm, or just, actually it's kind of between Denton and kind of the Colony and kind of Frisco area. I know most of everybody around here knows where that is. It's moving northeast, kind of up towards Prosper, and kind of up in those areas. This eventually will be, out of the Metroplex, kind of going north of McKinney, and then as kind of perhaps head up towards Sherman a little bit later on tonight. So that's some big hail possible, in that storm. There's also other storms developing near Fort Worth, and that too has hail in it. Fortunately, these storms don't have a lot of rotation. So they're not. They don't have a lot of what we call low-level rotation in them. They're basically, essentially rotating. They're spinning, but the spin in the thunderstorms is aloft. It's located above the Earth's surface in the storm itself. It's just those real strong updrafts feeding on a lot of what we have storm energy, or CAPE over that way, and they're getting real strong, and they're able to blow up really high in the atmosphere. And they're producing, like I say, some big chunks of ice over that way. But there's not a lot in the way of low-level spin of the atmosphere. We call it low-level shear. So that's keeping us from seeing bigger hail production there. We can take a look here at some of the Ville densities are pretty high up. That just shows where that hail is there. Wow, it's just huge. All right, so it looks like we got development trying to take place now, getting a little bit better between Bryson and Jacksboro, finally seeing an updraft being able to sustain itself over here near Jacksboro finally. So if that continues, we might see some hail production out of that, somewhere across central and northern parts of Jack County, if it can continue its development. We'll see what the storm organization looks like. You can see some storm organization in it. By looking at the wind fields, I can see the updraft is spinning some, so it might try to sustain itself for a little while. So we might see some hail production up towards Jacksboro, and then kind of north of there too. Kind of maybe northern Jack County, and then maybe eventually into the Bowie area, if the storm can hold together. I will say this, that these supercells and all these storms developing over near the Metroplex are really gobbling up a lot of the atmosphere, a lot of that energy. They're kind of soaking it up themselves, so it could, what we call, rob those storms to the west, and it could keep them from getting quite so strong. It looks like the front itself has finally caught up to a lot of these storms that are trying to take off a little bit quicker here. So, let's see here. Cameron is on. Let's see. But yeah, it's been quite a severe weather day the last couple of days, and I'm going to try to pull my buddy Eric Fox on here in just a minute. He was storm chasing in Kansas yesterday, where he saw a pretty big tornado, and he's also storm chasing earlier today, and he does a lot of storm chasing. He's a big time storm chaser, nationally known, and does a lot of things through storm chasing. Yeah, he's actually the guy who is it's basically the organizer, or the lead organizer of the Storm Chase Summit they have every year down there in Dallas. So, and Eric has chased on air with us before in the past, so I'm going to have him on here in just a minute. So, Eric, if you're still watching me, I'm going to send you a collab cam, and the way you'll have to do it is you have to take it, if you're listening to me, you have to take it, the link that I'm sending you, and paste it into, if you're using your phone, that is, you have to take it and you have to paste it into your browser on your phone. You can't just click it from Facebook. So I'm going to have to send it through Facebook. So so you can't just put that in your browser on your phone. So I'm going to sign in to Facebook, and I'm going to send you this link, and whenever you get it, let me know. So give me a second here. All right, so So Eric, if you're watching me, you'll have I'm gonna text you real fast. So looks like we got some tornado warnings over near Frisco. Let me go over there to that and look at that. So yeah, there's your tornado warning that just come out for the Little Elm and the Frisco areas. Let me take these severe warnings off of here and just keep with the tornado warning here. So I don't want that. So the thunderstorm itself has begun to turn, and these supercells do this from time to time. Has begun to turn a little bit to the right, and as that happens, even though there's not a lot of low-level wind shear, it kind of alters its own environment. It kind of moves kind of to the right of the ambient mean flow in the atmosphere. So that causes these storms sometimes to rotate. Let me see what we got here from the Weather Service there in Fort Worth. That's Norman. Let's go to Fort Worth here. A lot of hail reports down there in Dallas now. So let's see here. I'm trying to see baseball size hail, Little Elm. Just severe thunderstorm warnings from there. I wonder why they don't have the tornado warning. Maybe I missed it somewhere. There it is. There it is. Tornado warning there. I can look on the velocities, and that has wrapped up quite a bit there now that it's turned to the right. We got some decent rotation near Frisco. Decent rotation. All right, Eric. So if you can hear me, did you paste that URL into your yeah, there it is. You have joined me. All right, give me a second, Eric. I can see you. I'm going to have to put my headphones on because I cannot hear you if I don't. Give me a second here. Let me go find them. Hold on. So what I'm going to have to do is put my you're not on the stream yet. I mean, I can see you, Eric, but I don't have you on the stream just yet. Of course, my headphones, I'm using these cheap things here. Of course, it's all tangled up, but we got this tornado warning out down in the Frisco area and Little Elm, and I do see some decent rotation. It looks like there's some pretty tight couplet that's developed in that area. You know, despite the fact that there's not a whole lot of low-level wind shear there. Give me a second. I'm trying to get this undone here. I'll be with you in just a second, Eric. All right. Now, let me see if I can find you. Eric, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Eric, can you hear me? Let's see here. All right, so give me a second here. I got to change. Yeah, I still don't know how to make this stuff work yet. I'm still trying to figure out a lot of these things. So I just plugged into my my microphone. So all right, now Eric, you're on with me. Eric, can you talk to me?
Yeah,
Oh, I can hear you now. Good. So I got you on. Finally got you on here with my stream here. Hey, we got this tornado warning down there towards in the Metroplex. What do you think about that? I cannot hear you, Eric. If I don't know what's happened there.
oh, I'm sorry, I muted you, Ken. That
Okay,
was my
now I can
fault.
hear you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
perfect. That's good. That's good. All right,
So,
I can hear you now.
it's not good based on what I'm seeing. A lot of times when I'm chasing, one, it's in one of the most densely populated areas of Texas right now. And what I'm seeing is you're seeing some velocity. When I chase, one thing I watch, if I'm going to pick a storm, is I'll watch those inflow winds. And what I'm seeing right now is those inflow winds increasing off to the southeast, uh, you know, over Frisco right now. So you're looking at very stout, probably 60, 70 mile an hour inflow winds at a minimum. Not good for that area. If you've got friends and family on the north side of Frisco going up towards Prosper, this is a dangerous situation for sure. If I was chasing, I would definitely, that's where I would be. The other bad part is it's 6 o'clock, 6:52, so the traffic's going to be a standstill there off of 183, and of course Highway 75 going up north.
Yeah, that's and that's kind of your area. You're very familiar with that area down there. With you, with you being from that area and you officiating football games down there, you're very familiar with all that. So, I'm reading reports from the Weather Service. Weather Service has tight rotation near Frisco. Also reporting golf ball size hail there in Frisco at the fire station. So yeah, Eric, this is no doubt a dangerous storm down there for sure. I mean, this thing is putting down some huge hail.
Yeah, I'm actually I've got a stream here of on my phone. I'm watching it. It's got a blocky wall cloud and it's got a very large inflow tail based on what I'm seeing on the stream. So
What stream are you using? Watching?
it's on hold on, let me look. It's just on a Facebook page of
Okay.
of a local chaser I'm following there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish you were out. I could take your stream. I wish I had somebody's stream I could take down there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this present time to see if there's any live storm chasers down there on it from Brett's page there.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing, in the future that we're going to do now that I have Streamlabs, I actually downloaded the app, which made this easy. So we should be able to do this a little more, especially on days I'm in the Northwest Texas area in our location down my old stomping grounds around Wichita Falls.
Oh wow, that is. I'm looking at the stream now too.
Yeah.
That a guy named, you may know him, Michael Beard.
Yeah, that's who I'm following.
Yeah, he's got that is a nice blocky wall cloud on that. Very, very low hang. I'm looking at how moist it is down there. Very tropical like atmosphere there.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at some different products here. Trying to see if there's any kind of bad soundies going on in front of that. I guess your best sample may be Sherman Denison, but trying to get a little more info. But one thing, as if I was chasing that, what I would do is stay off the interstates, right? Because the interstates are the worst place to try to follow storms because everybody wants to stop underneath a bridge. They want to try to protect their vehicle. They're selfish. They'll stop under a vehicle to stop where they shouldn't stop, and it clogs up the highway. So of course, if you've got a fast moving tornado, a lot of times that if you're stopped on the interstate, can't go anywhere versus a side street. So a lot of times if I'm in a metro area trying to chase anything, I'm going to be on those side streets just for safety.
Yeah, it's hard to chase in the metroplex, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's times I won't chase, especially nowadays. I mean, one thing I like about what you do is your tower cameras. In a metro area, it sure makes a difference. Chasing in any kind of metro is horrible, and I try to avoid it at all costs. The other thing is chasing out, which I chose, and it looks like I chose wrong. I chose to come back home because of where these storms were going in East Oklahoma. You can't see anything in those trees in the mountains, especially at night. So I was like, you know what? But what I was not expecting or really seeing in the models was the second wave we're getting.
Yeah.
But we just had so much time. It fired so early. I really think the instability was able to recover, along that dry line again. And here we go.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight rotation down there, Eric. You really, you're seeing a pretty good couplet there, kind of between Little Elm and Frisco. Like you say, some pretty strong inflow winds there.
Yeah, and what I don't like for the people of Prosper and North Frisco right now, you're seeing that hail core starting to wrap around into that hook. So
what does that mean, Eric? As a storm chaser, what does it mean when you see the hail core starting to wrap around into the hook?
So that just tells me that the winds that are coming off the backside of the thunderstorm. So there's been a lot of research lately that tells you that the winds that wrap around that cause that hook is what we call RFD, roof flake downdraft.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting hail that's wrapping around that tells me one of two things: that the updraft speeds are so great that it's allowing to have that hail suspended longer than normal, which tells me that your inflow is also extremely strong, which is going to feed that engine of that thunderstorm.
Right.
And it's going to cause that engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so as that thunderstorm rotates and gets stretched out, that tells me that the storm is extremely healthy and it's allowing super big hail to be wrapped around and come out the top of the thunderstorm, and then the RFD is so strong it'll bring it around. So this tells you it's a healthy storm. It's not going to go anywhere. And the engine that produces these tornadoes, especially on a day like today where the low level wind shear may not be off the charts,
Mm-hmm.
but you have all the energy and all the ingredients that the storm creates its own atmosphere, its own energy
Mm-hmm.
to create these tornadoes. And a lot of times when you start seeing that hell wrap around, that tells you just how great that storm, that engine is revving up, and it's really, you know, causing these tornadic circulations to happen. Because really the surface isn't that great, right? Our surface winds, if we
Nope.
had 10, 15 more knots of surface winds, we'd probably be having a massive tornado on the ground right now.
Yep.
So
Yep. Well, you know, I
yeah,
mean, I was talking to my guy Cameron, who's been out, and he's like, you know, he's been chasing in our area, and he was like, you know, I don't even see any winds blowing at the Earth's surface. He said, "These just calm winds out of here. You know, you're gonna have a hard time getting tornadoes when the winds are like that. So,
yeah.
without any surface winds, you know."
Yeah, but what's good though, Ken, and I saw this all this morning as that stuff come out of Jefferson County towards Davis, and you know I followed that all the way to I-35 and just beyond Sulphur. Was that it seemed like maybe we have some veer back veer going on in the atmosphere, because
Yeah.
you would see the hook come in, the wall cloud would come down, and then all of a sudden RFD would come around, and then the mid levels of the atmosphere, it would push the thunderstorm forward, which undercuts the mesocyclone, which is that warm air. That's that focal point of that warm air into the thunderstorm that we focus on looking for tornadic circulations, and it would undercut it, which is a good thing because especially where this is at right now.
Yeah, it looks like the RFD is wrapped around it.
Yeah, yeah. That see right now it's kind of your make or break time, in my opinion, if this is going to actually tornado, because one or two things is going to happen. It's going to the RFD is going to wrap around, and if it's warm, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have a tornado. If it's cold and it's going to start pushing out in the mid levels, it'll
Mm-hmm.
just push that mesocyclone out, and it'll cut it off. So we'll see what happens here in the next few minutes for the sake of the people in this area right now. I hope it does
Well,
push out like what I saw most of the today. But
the question that I have though, how do you determine whether an RFD is cold or not?
you've got a lot of two things. A wet RFD, if you could see it, the rain, you could literally see the rain come down on the backside of the thunderstorm, and it'll wrap around, and you'll see it. You'll see it. It's cold. It's usually kind of in a white color, and you'll hit the ground, and you'll see it come around. And what it'll do is undercut it. A lot of times you just want to get out. I'll roll down the windows when I get into an RFD, roof length downdraft, just to sample it. And a lot of times, if it's super cold, I'm like, I don't think it's going to happen. Or if what'll happen is that rain shaft will come all the way around, cut it off, and then you won't see the tornado because you'll get it completely rain wrapped. So you'll tornado just because of the way the tornado works. It'll still tornado. You just won't see it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times in cold, wet RFDs is what we call that. It'll be cut off and you won't see it. What like last night, Kansas, I had a very warm, 70, probably 75-degree wind
Mm-hmm.
from the west on the RFD on the south side of the tornado circulation. It was warm. No, it was not wet at all. You could feel it, and then it wraps back around in the tornado, and that helps that tornado genesis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'd say within
you got a
20
big tornado.
minutes,
Yeah.
within 20 minutes, it went from warm to wet and cold, and then the tornado stopped. So there's a lot of research out there still going on about RFD and why some RFDs create tornadoes and why some don't. And I can just say from my experience, if you have warm RFD that's not wet, you're going to get tornadoes. If they're super wet and cool, it usually undercuts the mesocyclone from that warm air that you want to have for tornado genesis.
Well, it does definitely get very confusing. That's for sure. It's hard to even for somebody like me to even understand sometimes. To be honest about it.
Yeah. And that's why I honestly, like Ken, that's why I think you're so good at what you do, because you've chased, you've been out there, you've sampled, you've seen it, you kind of understand what's going on. But like right now, something I'm looking on the storm down here. Of course, luckily, I don't know if GR will do it, but that closer, I guess radar KDFW.
Yeah, I can get KFD. I can get that.
Look at that, and Ken, and it shows a different little depiction where it looks like that RFD undercut it and surged out.
All right, give me a second. I'm gonna go to that.
Yeah.
What are you on Radar Omega?
No, I'm on Scope.
Oh, I like Radar Scope. A lot about this GR I don't understand. So a lot
Yeah, I'll
about it.
teach you. That's what I run in my truck. So
Yeah, there's a you can definitely see it. You can see I can see exactly what you're talking about there from that vantage point. How the RFD undercut it and it weakened the storm. It looks like the tornado threat may be done with that for at least now, right?
yeah, the only thing that concerns me, if you look, I just got a new scan here at 702, so I just got a new scan here. It's still got a focal point of really tight rotation with it though, so it looks like what happened is that RFD, like what I'm saying, is it'll undercut it and then come around, and then you'll still have that super good inflow for a while, and then a tornado for a short time before it completely cuts it off. And I'm worried that's what's going on right now because I've got to let me see where the closest intersection is there.
It's about to pass just southeast of Prosper. I can
Yeah.
that from that radar site I'm looking at now. You can definitely see the RFD wrapping around it there. You can almost see almost see the little dot there in the center almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
That
great
would
picture.
be, if I was chasing, that's where I'd want to be, right there on that dot.
That's a dangerous place to be, man. Just if this thing's wrapped in rain, it might get you.
Yeah, and that's why, and I don't necessarily. It's recycling, Ken. By the way, on this last update.
Yeah, it looks like it is. Yeah, it looks like it's
Um,
recycling a bit there. So
yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, that's why I highly, I've been doing this 20 years and 20 plus years, and that's why I really don't recommend just to go out there and chase if you have no experience because you're going to run into stuff like this. And if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and not know how to escape or not know your escape routes or where to go, um, you're going to be in trouble.
right.
Let's
Right.
reissue the tornado warning, by the way.
Yeah, I see that right there. I see the new warning out there for it. But at least from a the reflectivity standpoint, it doesn't look as impressive on this radar site. But it could be because it's real close to that radar site. I'm not sure.
Well, and it's not as powerful. It's a
Right.
very dumbed down experimental. It just changes it, right? It's not the radar that you're going to get from the National Weather Service. This is actually, and I can't remember who did this radar. It's the city of Dallas, I think, or the North Texas Council of Governments, if I remember. And it's kind of like what Durant did, which there's some entities, some governments, because there's holes, right? There's radar holes all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
So Barron, which is a great company, is
Yeah, they're
coming into
great.
some of
Yep.
these cities, and they're putting in these smaller radars to help. And this is what this is. It's not your big, powerful National Weather Service radar that we're looking at, but it still gives us something that's a little closer on the velocities.
Right. I like it though. I like seeing it. It really gives me a really good look at it there. We need one of these over there and over there near Bowie and Nakona and those areas. It starts getting a dead area over there. So
Yeah. I used to live in Bowie, of course, and that would definitely not be fun.
yep, that's true. That's true. But yeah. So talk a little bit about you chased today and you chased last night. How did you pull that off?
So yeah, no sleep. That's part why I'm not out today, this afternoon, just because I've kind of hit a wall. But it looked really good yesterday in the Kansas. You just had a typical dry line set up with ample moisture, but the upper levels were perfect for what we got yesterday, and so not a whole lot of strong wind lower level wind shear, but I knew there was enough ingredients there just to go see what happened. And sure enough, we were on the only tornadic supercell that we were able to see. And actually, the bad part about it was the tornado developed right at sunset. Like the tornado was on the ground and the sun's going down, and so I know it wedged out, and I got a glimpse of the wedge, right, probably about 20 minutes after the tornado. Probably lasted about 20 minutes total. And but the terrain was horrible. It's out there in the Flint Hills and one dirt road. That's all it was.
Right.
So and it was it was a tough chase, but I didn't get home till 3 a.m. And I was back up at 9 o'clock because I knew we were gonna have an early day. I just didn't think it was gonna be that early of a day. So I work for full time for Weather Nation TV, and I'm a field meteorologist for them. So I'm always out doing stuff in the field for them. And unfortunately, that took me kind of out of today's afternoon chase because I was not going to go to Arkansas.
Well, I don't know if it's if this is not official, but Frisco sounded sirens again. Tornado reports touchdown in a parking lot, Frisco Collin College campus. So that would
Okay.
be a little bit ago there.
Okay, so I think in what happened when we saw that wrap around that little bullseye we were talking at, that was
Hmm.
probably what was going on because
Yeah,
based on what they're
there it
saying,
is.
where that
Yep.
was, that would have been on that north side. That's where it would have been.
Probably a fairly weak tornado, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, based on velocities, it was probably very, very brief, very, very. It's funny because sometimes on these brief tornadoes, on storms like this, you'll see it. This kind, you won't even it won't even fully condensate sometimes, and
Hmm.
you'll just see half a tornado or like a funnel cloud come down, and then on the ground you actually have a tornado on the ground, and it lasts about that long.
Right. Yeah, I've
Um,
seen that too. Little dust swirl down there. Yeah, I've seen
yeah,
that before. Yeah, pretty weak spin there. But and again, folks, if you're just now joining us here on Facebook Live or YouTube, this is Eric Fox, a good friend of mine and storm chaser, and he does a lot of stuff for Weather Nation. He's basically storm chases everything that's out there. I don't say you're quite as extreme as Reed, but you're just maybe a little step below, right?
yeah. I have kids that I care to get back to, and I love Reed. He's a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little more crazy than I am, and life choices, life responsibilities. He can do some of the stuff that he does because that's what he wants to do, and I have
Mm-hmm.
other obligations, and I choose to stay alive. At some point, I'm hoping that he's able to do what he wants to do in the research. I mean, he's so passionate about research and trying to help people and trying to aid the science.
Yeah.
I just It's hard to do what he does because he's on the road probably 300 days of the year.
Yeah, I defend Reed a lot. I say that about him a lot. He's a great meteorologist. He's a good guy, and he's passionate about what he does.
Yeah.
So he does a good job. He does have a tendency sometimes to push the envelope a little bit, but overall a good guy though.
Yeah, I've been friends with him for a while. He's a pretty good guy. Hey Ken, something I'm noticing here.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're noticing it. There may be a new couplet. They're on the north end. That
Yeah, I see
radar thing.
that just kind of north of Prosper. It looks like the Weather Service is going to cancel the warning, but I actually see kind of two. I see one kind of just west of McKinney there, and like you said, another one just
Yeah,
kind of north of Prosper.
yeah.
So I do see that too. Of course, off this radar site, like you say, it's not a great radar. It's pretty good with velocities, but it's not as powerful as the National Weather Service radar. So it is a
Yeah.
little bit different a
Well,
look to it.
well, something else I'm seeing also. It looks like this thing is just recycling because down to the southwest, you could start seeing that hook coming back. I think.
Yeah, I do see that. I switched back to the National Weather Service radar site, and you can see that. You can see that little rotation there, just kind of to the northeast of Prosper a little bit.
Yeah.
But it looks like the Weather Service is going to. They say they're going to allow this tornado warning to expire. Going to go a severe thunderstorm with
Yeah.
golf ball size here, which is probably not a bad call. Probably not
Yeah.
bad.
That was a good. It was a good thing of that RFD. I think punched out
Yeah,
undercut that.
you could really see it really really good. So it's great to have you on for somebody like you that can explain things like that. I'm not a seasoned storm chaser like you are. I mean, I've storm chased before, but not to near the extent that you have. So you're able to look at the radar and you're able to visualize it and say, hey, look, this is actually what's going on, not just based on radar, but what I've seen before, and that really really helps out a lot.
I appreciate it. Well, you teach me a lot too, man. I remember back in the day, I I could storm chase, but I couldn't fully understand the science, and you've helped me understand a lot of the, especially the upper level stuff, right? The storm
Right.
systems. I think that's why you're so good, Texoma wise. If you think about it, it's honestly that they always say the Texas Panhandle, Western Oklahoma, and North Texas, Northwest Texas, is the hardest place to forecast in the
Oh,
world.
it is. It's so hard. It is so
And,
hard to
and
forecast here.
because you've got so many dynamics, and most viewers don't understand that. I grew up in the Texas Panhandle. At the dry line, the difference between 25 miles means everything, and it's the same way in Northwest Texas. I mean, models are not. That's just it. It's a guess. It's a scientific guess where things work out. And what I like is you don't just take one thing for an answer. You combine everything and then make your own decision, which is a good forecaster.
Yep, that's what I like to
Some
do. Yep, I'm
Yeah,
not. I'm not a hyper. I'm not a weather hyper. I'm not one of those
yeah,
guys. So
yeah.
too many of
I
those
get
guys out there on TikTok and whatnot.
yeah, I get a little angry sometimes on hyping things up, but sometimes you have to. I mean, especially here I live in Central Oklahoma now, and telling you, especially in May, you have to take things serious. I mean, I'm on a day like today in May. I think you have tornadoes, all through Central Oklahoma this morning. It's just the way it is. I don't know what it is about the climatology here, but you will have tornadoes on the smallest events, and it's just I don't know why. But if you don't hype things up here, if you see something, you better say it because it's a matter of life and death here.
Oh yeah, well, Oklahoma, especially up there where you live, man. That area gets nailed. You live there just east of Oklahoma City, there, so you're in that what over there towards a Pure Sale or kind
Uh,
of where
no,
Shawnee.
yeah, I live between Oklahoma City and Shawnee. It's an area called McLeod. I'm actually south of 40 though, so it's what they call Twin Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the history of tornadoes, actually where I'm sitting right now in 2013, the Shawnee tornado come through here.
Right,
So
that area is a hot spot, man.
yeah, last year 3 times there's 3 tornadoes last year that come within a quarter mile of our house. So yeah,
That's
you got to take
crazy.
it serious.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yep, I know that. Well, Eric, they just let the warning expire here for this storm, so I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to end the stream here in just a second. But man, we're going to do some fun stuff here. This really worked great having you on here, man.
Yeah, and I think what we could do now that we kind of got these Streamlabs working, I know we got it. My phone wouldn't work too much, but the computer's working great. So what we'll do is we'll start maybe trying to get this going in the vehicle as I'm in the area chasing with you, and we'll use Streamlabs here a little more and see what we can do.
Sounds great, man. All right, Eric. Well, I'm going to end this stream here. I appreciate